The microphones were hot.
Yeah.
The banter was flying. And just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession.
It was the snap heard around the internet.
Welcome to Scarscope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals.
From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And today, we are diving into a massive headline, the video title that everyone is talking about.
Yeah.
Will Arnett didn't want to talk about Amy Poehler.
Oh, it is such a fascinating and honestly deeply uncomfortable story.
It really is. And if you're loving these Hollywood twists, make sure you're subscribed because we've got even crazier stories ahead in this deep dive.
Definitely hit subscribe. So let's set the scene for this inciting incident.
Right. So we are talking about the hit audio show, SmartLess.
The premise of the show is basically these lifelong Hollywood friends, Will Arnett, Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes, just hanging out.
It's supposed to be this unscripted, boundary-pushing, very casual banter, you know?
Exactly. But this week, things took a sharp left turn. Jason Bateman persistently asked Will Arnett a highly intimate, honestly bizarre question about his former marriage to Amy Poehler.
He literally asked, and I quote, "Did you ever poo in front of Amy?"
Which, I mean, is an inherently absurd question.
Right, it's ridiculous.
But Arnett's reaction was what caught everyone off guard. It
Yeah.
was just so visceral, he completely shut the conversation down.
He fired back immediately. He said, "Are you looking for clicks? Are you trying to get something that we can click around?"
And Bateman tried to brush it off like it was just a joke.
But Arnett was having none of it. He added, "I'm sorry. The question is, did I poo in front of Amy? And you're saying that I don't have manners. What are you talking about?"
And the craziest part is that Bateman actually doubled down.
He really did.
He insisted it was a good question. And that is when Arnett just snapped. The whole friendly banter vibe completely vanished.
He said, "It's not a good question. I refuse to answer it. I refuse to answer that. It's none of your fucking business."
Yeah, and he also noted that Amy was going to be outraged by the question. It really felt like watching a car crash in slow motion.
Totally. To understand the weight of that reaction, though, we kind of have to look at the background context.
Right, because Arnett and Poehler have a really long history.
They met way back in the 1990s comedy scene. They were married from 2003 to 2016.
And they share two teenage sons, right? Archie, who's 16, and Abel, who's 14.
Exactly. And Arnett also has a 4-year-old son, Alexander, with his girlfriend, Alessandra Brown. So, you know, their lives have definitely moved on.
But their dynamic is clearly still very present. In fact, Arnett recently praised Poehler's parenting on that very same show.
He did. He credited her with helping him be a better parent.
Yeah, he openly admitted he doesn't come by it naturally, mostly because of his own upbringing.
He even shared that he still seeks her counsel for major life and work advice. He said something like, "There aren't many people he speaks to more than her," which is weird, but great.
Which is exactly what makes this sudden wall he threw up so fascinating to me.
Right. He gives listeners this incredibly vulnerable window into their co-parenting relationship, but the moment a bodily function is mentioned, he just slams the door shut.
And it makes total sense when you factor in Amy Poehler's own well-documented stance on privacy.
Oh, absolutely.
In her 2014 memoir, she explicitly wrote that she hates people, quote, knowing shitty about her personal life.
She also noted that getting a divorce really sucks, but fiercely defended that a nearly 10-year marriage is not a failure.
Which is a great perspective, but there's also this extra layer of competitive context from our sources that I absolutely love.
Oh, the Golden Globes thing.
Yes, so Poehler's own audio show, Good Hang, recently beat SmartLess for the first ever Best Podcast Award at the Golden Globes.
That underlying competitive friction definitely adds texture to the whole dynamic.
Especially when you consider Arnett's accusation that Bateman was just fishing for clicks.
I keep thinking about this interaction like a friendly dinner party. You know, you're sitting around the table, the wine is flowing, everybody's laughing.
Right, a great vibe.
And then suddenly, the host pulls out a blinding interrogation lamp and shines it right in your face. Yeah. It completely shatters the social contract.
It really does. But I have to push back a little on the prevailing narrative here.
Okay, what do you mean?
Well, is this genuine boundary setting, or is this highly curated performative conflict meant to generate the exact media storm we are currently participating in?
And that's not even the wildest part, because the internet has a completely different theory about what actually happened in that room.
Yes. The Lonely Myers Pod Reddit community dedicated a massive thread to this exact theory.
Oh, those fans are incredibly observant. What did they find?
So fans started dissecting the audio, and they pointed out that Arnett's rant sounds suspiciously identical to a specific character he plays.
Wait, really? Which character?
His hyper-defensive TMZ parody character from the deleted scenes of the movie Popstar.
Oh my gosh, that is so specific.
Right. In that film, his character goes on this long, aggressive tangent, shouting, "Nobody needs to know what goes on in my personal life. It's none of your Fife King business."
Wow. So you're saying the fans think he basically slipped into a character bit to deflect the question?
The community is divided, but the most compelling argument they bring up isn't even about his tone. It's about the medium itself.
Okay, explain that.
We have to look at the mechanics of audio production. If Arnett were truly furious and a real relationship-damaging boundary had been crossed, the audience would never have heard it.
Because audio editors exist for a reason.
Exactly. They would have just cut the exchange. What's fascinating here is how these shows artificially engineer the illusion of spontaneity.
I really want to dig into that. How exactly do they engineer it? Because as a listener, it just sounds like three guys in a room talking over each other. It doesn't sound heavily produced at all.
And that raw feeling is entirely by design. Audio producers spend hours meticulously removing actual dead air.
Like the boring, awkward pauses of real conversation.
Right, but they purposefully leave in things like breath sounds, chair squeaks, or seemingly accidental banter.
It makes it feel so authentic.
And they compress the audio so the voices sound incredibly close. It literally mimics the acoustic environment of someone whispering right next to you.
So by choosing to leave this argument in the final cut, the producers are actively participating in the narrative.
Yes. They are manufacturing an atmosphere of eavesdropping. They're tricking the listener into feeling like a trusted confidant sitting right there at the table.
Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next, because this psychology goes so much deeper than just one celebrity argument.
It really does.
To understand why that illusion works so well and why Arnett's boundary felt so jarring, we have to look at the historical baseline of fame.
Let's ground this in today. Today is June 23, 2026.
According to the Bored Panda celebrity birthday list for today, we get a perfect snapshot of how we historically relate to famous people.
Yeah, let's hear some of those.
For example, happy 69th birthday to Frances McDormand.
An incredible actress. She holds the triple crown of acting.
And she notoriously declined a callback for the Coen brothers' debut film, Blood Simple, because she promised to watch her boyfriend's soap opera debut.
That is such a great piece of trivia. We also have Jason Mraz turning 49 today.
Oh, nice.
A fun fact from the list, he actually sang the high parts in an R&B band called Dressed to Kill when he was just 13 years old.
That is amazing. We've also got Randy Jackson turning 70 today. Long before his television fame as a judge, he actually played bass guitar for the rock band Journey.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And Joel Edgerton is 52 today. He's an actor who was once told by a high school drama teacher that his lisp would completely ruin his acting career.
Think about how your brain processes those facts. They are interesting, right? But they're static pieces of trivia.
Yeah, they don't really affect me personally.
Exactly. You read that Joel Edgerton had a lisp, and you think, oh, good for him for overcoming that, and then you immediately move on.
Right.
You don't feel a deep emotional connection to his high school drama teacher.
Right, exactly. But I have to ask, isn't that just a matter of exposure?
What do you mean?
Well, how is listening to a conversational show really any different from reading Frances McDormand's Wikipedia page or reading Amy Poehler's memoir? Isn't it all just fandom at the end of the day?
That's a fair question.
To me, traditional celebrity feels like looking at a beautifully painted, static portrait in a museum. You can admire it, but you can't talk to it.
I like that analogy.
While listening to an audio host feels like someone handing you their living diary. You're getting updates in real time. But is the underlying psychology really fundamentally different?
Later in the deep dive, we'll talk about the shocking twist nobody saw coming regarding how our brains actually process these voices.
Can't wait for this part.
The data suggests it actually is fundamentally different, primarily because of how the brain processes audio versus visual or written media.
And this brings us to the 2025 Cogitatio Press study by M. Olguta Vilzianu.
Yes, the researchers analyzed over 12,000 listener reviews of two massive, long-running audio shows.
This American Life and Radio Lab, right?
Exactly. They wanted to understand the concept of parasocial relationships.
Basically those one-sided bonds where the listener feels a genuine friendship with a media figure.
And what those 12,000 reviews revealed about that static portrait versus the living diary is wild.
What did they find?
They revealed that an audio host bypasses the critical filters we use for actors.
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay.
Because an actor plays a role behind a screen, we know it's a performance.
Right. But an audio host speaks directly into your ear canal, usually reacting to real-world events as they happen.
It feels infinitely more real.
The study found that listeners do not refer to these hosts as distant celebrities. Throughout the reviews, it was always Ira Glass, Jada Bomrad, and Robert Krulwich.
They refer to them almost exclusively by their first names.
Yes, the host functions as a critical anchor for trust.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the study highlights when we're actually listening to these shows.
It's a very intimate setting, usually.
It's not like going to a crowded movie theater. It's during our most private, vulnerable moments. We are commuting alone in our cars. We are doing dishes in our kitchens. We are lying in bed in the dark.
Exactly.
One of the reviews in the study literally said, "I set my sleep timer to 30 minutes before bed, and Ira's smooth voice and storytelling lulls me to sleep."
That physical proximity, the voice literally vibrating inside your earbuds, it tricks the brain's social circuitry.
Wow. Because you can't see the person, your brain has to actively work to fill in the visual gaps.
Exactly. Which creates a sense of co-authored reality. The listeners feel they are in a reciprocal relationship, fulfilling deep psychological needs for companionship.
So they aren't just consuming content, they're inviting a trusted entity into their mental space.
But when you invite someone into your head every single week, and your brain starts classifying them as a friend, you inevitably develop a sense of ownership over them.
And that is exactly where this parasocial trust becomes a double-edged sword.
Ah.
What happens when the living diary changes handwriting? What happens when a host decides to withhold information, like Will Arnett refusing to answer a personal question, or when a show dramatically alters its core identity?
The Cogitatio Press study dedicates a massive section to the dark side of this phenomenon. They term it negative nostalgia.
Okay, so positive nostalgia is straightforward, right? It's when you remember how a specific host's voice helped you through a difficult commute or a lonely period in your life.
Right, and you feel warmth toward them.
But what is negative nostalgia?
Negative nostalgia is what happens when the listener feels the underlying brand promise has been violated. The reaction isn't just disappointment. It is processed as real grief and anger.
The researchers looked at Radiolab as a prime example of this, didn't they?
They did, because that show went through a massive transition.
Yeah. For 15 years, the original hosts, Jod and Robert, built this incredibly specific, magical, science-based sonic journey.
But between 2020 and 2022, they both retired and handed the reins over to Lulu Miller and Latif Nasser.
And the audience reaction was completely visceral.
The researchers use a tool called semantic network analysis to map out the listener reviews from that period.
Which basically means they fed all the text into a program that visualizes how specific words cluster together.
Right. It shows the emotional shape of the feedback. And the results were brutal.
Really? How bad?
They could literally see words like zany and silly forming a massive web of frustration directed at the new hosts.
That is fascinating. So the listeners weren't just saying, "I don't like this." They were fundamentally rejecting the new personalities.
Completely. The reviews accused the new hosts of acting like, quote, little kids at summer camp.
Oh, ouch.
Listeners complain that the show had lost its rigorous science angle entirely, pivoting too much towards social issues.
One reviewer even mockingly rebranded the beloved show as Radio Feelings.
People were furious. They were writing impassioned pleas like, what happened? Radiolab, where did you go?
Hearing that, well, it doesn't sound like a standard critique of media content.
Not at all.
It sounds like someone talking about a friend who joined a cult or completely changed their personality overnight. It sounds like a personal betrayal.
It really does.
To use the diary metaphor again, it's as if you opened your best friend's diary and suddenly a stranger was writing in it.
And it's processed by the brain as a parasocial breakup.
A parasocial breakup, that's a powerful term.
And the data shows this phenomenon is universal. It happens regardless of the specific content or political leaning of the show.
Right, because we see the exact inverse happen with This American Life.
Exactly. That show had been a cultural staple for decades, largely perceived as a quirky storytelling endeavor.
But when host Ira Glass began, including more overtly political topics and social issues around 2016, the data showed a similar revolt from their established demographic.
The semantic analysis for This American Life showed massive spikes in the phrase, used to be good.
Listeners were writing incredibly hostile reviews. They accused the show of having a stink of bias.
Just to be clear, we are simply reporting on the data provided in the study, not endorsing the political viewpoints of the reviews.
Right, impartial reporting here.
Mm.
But the reviews were intense. One older listener wrote, "I've loved this show for over 25 years, but it's time to unsubscribe. The stink of bias is hard to ignore."
Another claimed it was now entirely focused on advocacy for extreme ideologies and racial identity politics.
The mechanism of the backlash was identical to Radiolab.
It really was. When the host changed the parameters of the conversation, the listeners felt their implicit contract had been broken.
It resulted in a mass exodus of older listeners who felt the intimacy they had relied on for decades was now tainted.
They grieved the loss of the show, exactly like the loss of a real-world relationship, because neurologically, the bond of trust had been severed.
Okay, this completely reframes the Will Arnett and Jason Bateman drama for me.
Really? In what way?
Well, if we look at the immense pressure these hosts are under, if audiences feel this entitled to a show's content and vibe, it changes everything.
Oh, I see where you're going.
If listeners will literally organize a revolt, write thousands of furious reviews, and experience genuine psychological grief because a host changes their format, is it any wonder Will Arnett panicked and snapped?
That is a great point.
If you know your audience thinks they are your actual friends and they demand access to your life, a question about your ex-wife's bathroom habits isn't just banter, it's a threat.
It's a massive boundary violation.
For these hosts, fundamentally trapped by the monster of intimacy they've created?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the Arnett and Bateman exchange is a perfect microcosm of this entire modern media ecosystem.
How so?
The business model requires hosts to constantly feed the listener's insatiable desire for intimate, unguarded access. The illusion of eavesdropping is what pays the bills.
It secures the sponsorships and gets the downloads.
But these are real people. They also have to protect their actual sanity, their real-world co-parenting relationships, and their families.
It is an impossible tightrope walk. You have to sound like you're freely giving away the keys to your diary while secretly keeping it locked inside a vault.
Exactly. You have to project total vulnerability without actually being vulnerable.
And when the mask slips, whether intentionally as a comedic bit to farm engagement or accidentally in a moment of genuine frustration over crossed boundaries, the audience feels the jolt.
The illusion breaks.
Because in that split second of friction, it reminds us of the uncomfortable truth. We aren't actually at the dinner party with them.
No, we aren't sitting at the table. We're just alone in our cars listening to a heavily edited recording.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener?
Well, to put it incredibly bluntly, you are engaging in a parasocial relationship right now.
Yes. Just by listening to us guide you through these sources, your brain is doing the work of turning our voices into companions.
And that's not a bad thing. Human beings are totally wired for storytelling and connection.
But understanding the mechanics behind this psychology helps us realize why we react the way we do.
It explains why we get so fiercely defensive of our favorite creators, why we get so intensely nosy about their private lives.
Or why we feel genuinely heartbroken about public figures who, let's be honest, don't actually know we exist.
It gives us a crucial layer of media literacy. We crave connection, and the audio medium provides it more powerfully than almost anything else.
But we have to recognize the architecture of that intimacy. The hosts are providing a service, not a friendship.
Which leaves us with a final, lingering thought to mull over.
Next time you feel genuinely betrayed because your favorite creator decided to change their format, or you find yourself genuinely annoyed that a celebrity refuses to share a deeply personal detail about their divorce, ask yourself,
are you actually upset about the content they are providing, or are you just grieving a boundary set by an imaginary friend?
It is a question that really forces you to rethink who is actually sitting across the table from you every time you put your headphones on.
Yeah. You've been listening to Star Scoop Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.